Hey everyone, it's Plushie. It's been a while and today I come to you with the Iceberg of Final Fantasy XIV. For those who doesn't know, an iceberg is a meme format where you use an iceberg image and represent layers of knowledge on top of it. So basically, at the top of the iceberg you will have facts that you potentially already heard of. But then, the deeper you go, the less likely you have heard of those. In our case, I'm using AnarchisedLute's Iceberg. He made it with the Reddit community. There's some spoilers regarding the main story quest, so be wary about it, but I will put warnings before it on the screen. And I wanted to thank Lute because he helped me a lot with this video. Sorry about that long intro, let's get right into it. For this iceberg, there's some fact that I don't find that interesting, so I will skip some of it. We are above the iceberg, which means right now it's all about facts that potentially even people that don't play the game knows of. FF14 originally came out in 2010. It was produced by the same guy who did FF11, but the game received a gigantic backlash over how bad the game was. And so Naoki Yoshida was tasked to fix it. Yoshi P, also known as Naoki Yoshida, is a person who was charged to fix the game. They worked for 3 years into remaking the game entirely with a constant money loss, and when A Realm Reborn came out, the game was loved by the player base and, as we know, became one of the most profitable games for Square Enix. This is why some people joke about Yoshi P being God. When FF14 was getting reworked, they secretly added a red star in the sky. Nobody knew what it was, but each patches it grew bigger and bigger until it became a gigantic moon, known as Dalamud. The ambience was getting dark with ants playing in a distorted way. Flying alien ships could be seen in the sky and the impending threat was growing each day. It felt like it was the end of the world. And technically it's what happened. When they shut down the servers on November 11th of 2012, a cutscene played. Other players can be seen fighting the Empire soldiers on the battlefield, when suddenly you see Bahamut breaking out of the Dalamud moon, destroying the world. It felt like nothing could be done. Even Louisoix, with the help of prayers for each 12 deities, didn't manage to trap it back in its cage. In a last-ditch effort, Louisoix decided to sacrifice himself and save every player characters by teleporting them away. And so this part is actually canon. It looks like it's the end of the world, everything is getting destroyed, but what really happened is Louisoix turned himself into a primal and fought it off. All the player characters were sent in the future 5 years later, which is why In A Realm Reborn characters talks about how we don't remember the faces of those people. Many of those informations were learned during this Bahamut race in A Realm Reborn. But we will talk a bit more about what happened later in this video. Have you heard of the critically acclaimed MMORPG Final Fantasy XIV with an expanded free trial which you can play through the entirety of A Realm Reborn and the award-winning Heavensward expansion up to level 60 for free with no restrictions on playtime? This meme is everywhere. Sometimes memes dies out, but that one doesn't seem to go. And it started off when on March 4th, 2021, Square Enix decided to make 3 advertising videos of a woman encouraging people to play the free trial of FF14.
You know what free trial doesn't suck? Final Fantasy XIV Online.
Come on, guys, you know who has the best free trial ever? Final Fantasy XIV Online.
Looking swole, Dark Knight.
The Twinning is a dungeon in FF14 with a hyper music, and on YouTube someone called MyJob released a video called TheTwinning.mp4, which took the song and took the dance from Carson Shearer on TikTok and mashed it up together, turning it into one of the most popular FF14 memes. So popular that even the band The Primals performed on it. If you didn't know, The Primals is the official Square Enix band made by Soken, the official music composer, and there's also Koji Fox, who is the man in charge of the English translation, and this guy is so cool! I know it sounds weird, but he always seems in a happy mood and he also appears in the FanFest, and I don't know, he just seems like a good guy. Oh boy. The Billboard. A lot of people heard of it, and when it happened I was hysterical. It felt like no way someone would do this. Some people actually paid a billboard in Texas to advertise an FF14 nightclub venue. Although it sounds awkward, you might think, oh, you know, it's not too bad. But then you look at the picture and you see several things. First, the game is modded, which is against Square Enix's terms of service. Then you can see they added a Square Enix trademark, which almost makes it sound like they are advertising it. They also used clauses that you couldn't get in the game yet, so it was data mined. And nightclub venues are reputed to be NSFW. Even the owners said it.
Even though we are, an NSFW club.
So you can imagine a Japanese company will not be happy to hear about this. When it happened, someone named DJ Potat tweeted about it. Excited because her name was on it. Huge backlash happened and I actually felt bad for her because she isn't even the one who did it. she just ended up asked to DJ for them, even though FF14 DJs just literally play music on YouTube. I'm sorry. But I remember tweeting about it to tell people to chill because technically she didn't do anything wrong, she was just excited to see her name. Thankfully people realized that a bit later, so now she wasn't getting harassed anymore and actually had an audience. Anyway, to get back on that, the persons who paid the Billboard revealed that it was planned a month ahead and that they paid $12,000 for it. Just in case, do not harass anyone, it has happened a while ago and we're mature enough to move on. Thank you. Okay, that was above the iceberg. We are about to go on the surface, and I hope you will learn about some things. Did you know that there is a GM jail? If you misbehaved, you may get teleported in a map that the GMs call the Mordion Gaol, where the GMs will instruct you with a warning or a ban. There were rumors about out-of-bounds that could break you in the GM jails, but I haven't found any videos for it. But not everybody ended up meeting GMs in an unfortunate way, like this player, Trio Final, who was enjoying the gold saucer, staring at the carbuncle, when suddenly a GM appeared and pat them, before disappearing, which led to huge confusion. Before FF14 was reworked and that we had the world as we know, with Quertas being a snowy mountain area, this place used to be a very beautiful Greenland. When you think of Britannia, what are the maps you have in mind? North, East, South and Central Shroud. But what if I told you that West Shrouds used to be a thing? We can technically see it in a way that Can Esena ordered to put a glamour to hide the corruption and destruction that the calamity has caused. But we can see a bit of it in the second coin of Bahamut, turn 1. If you played with the game in English, you might have noticed something. The voices from Raubahn and the voices in Heavensward are different.
Be that as it may, Ul'dah is no friend to Garlemald.
I, Alfred O'Leverrier, am innocent of this charge and claim my right to trial by combat.
The reason behind it is because they changed studios, supposedly from USA to England. And I guess it checks out because of Ilbert's lines in Bowser's Wall, when he randomly goes,
"Sloppy."
If you paid attention to the story of FF14, you might have heard some NPCs randomly say, "Thal's balls." When the lore of FF14 was being written, someone you know actually helped in the process. It is none other than Koji Fox, the man in charge with localizing the game. In a FanFest panel of 2014, he talked about some ideas he had for the lore. He mentioned that he wanted the world to feel alive, therefore, he wanted people to swear.
As you know, I like swearing.
I do know that about you.
Iwao-san asked him if he could help him come up with names for the gods, and that was perfect for him because he wanted a name that rhymes with balls.
So I thought, it's like, okay, what do I want to use? Balls. I want to use balls. What rhymes with balls? And I was like, oh, can we call the god Thal? And he was like, I don't know, it's kind of short. I kind of want a longer name in Japanese. And so how about like Naldthal? And it's like, oh, Naldthal's bloody balls. I mean, no, it doesn't have the good ring to it.
Which is literally why he decided that he will split Nald and Thal and make it a double aspected god.
And then I said, because I wanted to use Thal separately, so it's for Thal's bloody balls and Thal's balls, I made him a dual aspected god. So that's how Naldthal became dual aspected, is so I could use Thal with Thal's balls.
But that's not all.
And another thing about Thal's balls,
One more?
During that panel, he also said that they had to submit the PS3 game version to Sony so that they can make an in-game check. The translation wasn't complete, and if there's no dialogue in it, Sony will make the game fail and force them to remake it and cost a lot of money. So Koji Fox put all 300 NPCs chat bubble pop up with Thal's balls.
Thal's balls, Thal's balls, Thal's balls. They just say, we passed, baby. We passed the Sony test.
It wasn't planned in the Iceberg, but I also wanted to say that according to his fandom wiki, he is the actual voices of the Good King Mogul theme. I really want to meet this man one day. In 2016, Meza Valiant shared on the FF14 Reddit a video where she met up with Soken and she asked him to play an FF14 music with her Otamatone.
Video, yeah?
In 2021, during the Digital FanFest, due to COVID discouraging meeting people in real life, Soken decided to sing the Shadowbringers Raktika Great Hood theme with two Otamatones.
Do you know Nahi? I will プレイラヒミュージックスタートラヒ
Seriously though, we don't deserve those Quanix teams, they are all so nice and in a joyful mood. Since we're talking about music, let's continue. When I say big fat tacos, what do you think of? No, Graha, put that down. It's not related to that tacos, but people gave wrong lyrics to the Ultima theme, and after you hear this, you won't be able to unhear it. Alright, we are on the last part of this tier and I will talk about an in-game story with some secrets. If you followed Raubahn main story quest, you probably remember Edda Pureheart, a girl in a party of 4 adventurers, including Avel, Raubahn and Pyraio, who would frequently be mean to her. Eventually, her boyfriend dies, the party disbands while blaming her, and she kept her boyfriend's head. She talks to us sometimes later to reveal that Avel was her fiancé, and that he looked up to the warrior flight and wanted to be just like us. She was motivated to become a strong adventurer again and left back on her own. After clearing a room reborn, you can meet Pyraio, who has a quest called Corpse Groom. It's about Edda inviting him to her wedding with Aver, her fiancé, but he is dead, and the ceremony is supposed to be in Tamtara where he died. Not only that, but you can see her in the back during that cutscene. Pyraio wants to meet Raubahn before we head there, but we tell him that she died, and when we go to her grave, her body disappeared. When you go through the dungeon, you get to see Raubahn, which tells us that Edda got herself into the dark arts of necromancy. A bit further in the dungeon, Pyraio decides that he will wait for us outside. When we reach the last room, the bridge forms, and as we approach Edda, there's what seems to be ritual blood on the floor. She just performed a ritual and a gigantic flying head appears, as she say, "Look, Aver, all these people have come to make you a gift of their souls. Isn't that kind of them? Even the warrior flight is here. Now your dream of becoming like him, her, can come true." And by that, she means that she wants Aver to use her body because he doesn't have one anymore. As you slay him, Edda looks horrified. She steps back, her robe gets caught on fire, and she falls to her death in the abyss as she starts smiling. When we go out of the dungeon and meet with Pyraio, he decides that he gives up on being an adventurer, when suddenly... And then is the interesting part. With very rare chances, you could see the ghost of Edda in the main cities. With some not very sure criteria. Some people say 1% chances at 2 AM in Eorzea time. The funny and scary thing is someone went out of bounds and turns out she's hiding behind the walls while waiting for her appearances. It's kind of funny that this video is recorded by the same person who got pat by a GM and recorded the out of bound with the supposed GM jail. This isn't the last time we hear of her as she appears again in the Palace of the Dead as a boss from floor 50. Nibeth of the Lord, potentially the necromancer from Tactics Ogre, Let Us Cling Together, took an interest in her, and when he sensed Edda's soul connecting to the player character, he decided to send her to confront us. It is now time to dive below the surface. Sometimes, translating ended up completely rewriting a character's personality. In this case, it happened to Haurchefant, because in his Japanese version, and I guess French one as well, he is very horny. In the Japanese version, he is obsessed with muscles and speaks very intimately to your character. Let me quote French Haurchefant. "I worked my thigh muscles really hard this past few days. Without wanting to brag, I have insane quadriceps. If you don't believe me, you could accompany me in my bedroom, I will show you all of it. But also, this fight warmed us up. If you want, we can continue in my bedroom." I am afraid to see his bedroom. At the beginning of the Iceberg, I talked about 1.0 being canon. The player characters would be teleported 5 years in the future, and because of this, legacy characters, which means characters that are ported over from 1.0 to 2.0, have unique cutscenes. As you can see here, the character is teleported instead of starting in a boat or carriage, and sub-science slightly recognize you. On top of that, legacy players get many benefits. A tattoo on their neck that they can toggle on and off, a unique legacy mount, a permanent discount on the subscription, and their name are in the credits of the game. At the launch of Stormblood, people wanted to rush the main story quest. And because of this, you have to start a duty after a cutscene that starts by Raubahn. But too many people tried to do it at once, so it would result with the duty not starting and the cutscene would be cancelled at the end of it. It piled so many players that people joked about it being Raubahn Savage. On June 14th of 2022, Final Fantasy XIV's Twitter account changed. The name became Tweeting Way, and the profile picture was of a Loporrit. They presented themselves by tweeting, "Hi, I'm Tweet," followed by "How to delete a tweet." And then, "Hi, I'm Tweeting Way. Nice to meet you, everyone." It's just a super cute event where the community managers plays as Loporrit, and everybody got excited when they came back, and we never have enough. Now I need Tweeting Way to tweet at me. During Stormblood, there were 3 companies close to a cult, and by cult, I don't mean in a roleplay way. The Dreadworm Academy in Adamant was a free company that would target mainly new players that seemed emotionally vulnerable. What made it sound like it was a cult was its very strict rules. You are not allowed to join a static if it's not the free company. You are not allowed to do endgame raids unless the leaders decide so. You are not allowed to buy a free company room. You are not allowed to buy items in the market board. You have to help the free company and put them above all. The kind of funny part is the way one of the leaders would talk. "We've been playing this game longer than you have. If Ark gives you his blessing, then you're safe. If you're not interested in helping us out, you are better off leaving before I come after you." There is so many things wrong with this, and people thought it was literally a troll, that it couldn't be real, but it actually was. And this was the leader's response to the drama. We are now reaching the bottom of the iceberg, right before the abyss. If you didn't know, some dialogues in the game can be impacted by your race and your job. Not crazy, but the reason why I'm saying this is because of something funny, kind of. Around the end of Stormblood, a huge leak happened on accident in the French clients. When the patch 4.55 rolled out, a new bug happened. Instead of quoting the player's race, it would list out every single pair of races in the game. And so instead of saying, "Oh, you're insert player race here," NPCs would say, "Oh, you're the Mikote, the Elezen, the Lalafell, the Mikote again, the Rogadin, the Aura, the Rovgar, and the Viera." Back then, female Viera was announced, but nothing else. And so the Rovgar race was leaked. Before Stormblood, you used to be able to put some stats in your classes for each level up. I even remember seeing someone make a ninja tank guide, but I haven't been able to find it ever since. If you played Overwhelm Reborn before the rework, you may not know, but Square Enix did a shocking and kind of unpleasant change, although logical. But when you fight Lahabra, he actually kills the Warrior of Light before Hydaelyn revives them. Kind of leave a better taste. In Korea, FF14 has some insane anime commercials, and ever since people's been dying to get an FF14 anime. What an intricate man. When Moenbrida dies, you eventually get a wind-up Moenbrida, and it reads, "This anatomically accurate representation of Moenbrida was secretly crafted by none other than Urianger, immediately following the untimely passing of his beloved companion. What he did with it before it passed to your hands is a tale best left untold." Obviously, it left a better taste to some players as it sounds like an NSFW joke, so Square Enix changed it a bit later, but some people defend it saying that he gave the doll a kiss and cried on it. During the event of Heavenstone 2014, you have to go to the Chocobo stable in Center Shroud. There you would meet a man in a recognizable armor and wearing a horse mask. The chief Chocowaka reacts to him by saying, "But that armor is Osher." "No, that can't be." He replies, "Well, if you cannot name me, I have no name to claim. The helm I bought off of a passing adventurer. It has a certain vigor that appealed to me. The supple muscles under the silky coat, the music of the hooves, the velvet of the muzzle, and the inscrutable black sea of their eyes. Ah, the horse." And then he talks about the warrior flight. "Look at the scars upon his kabuto. How mightily he must have toiled to become a horse, and against all odds, succeed. The docility to accept well-nigh impossible commands, the physical talents to carry them out. To a warrior born such as I, there are no virtues greater in a steed. I say, be my personal steed. There will be no greater, furred or feathered. The finest carrots you will have. Your feet I will scrape and..." Before he gets interrupted. Well, he stayed true to his character, I guess. Auras. They have quite a reputation, so I thought I would give them a better image by talking about some lore aura tribes from FF14. Let me see. The Baron. They are all trained from a very young age to collect and drink their own bodily fluids. Okay, never mind, let me see another one. The Goro. They are regarded with confusion by some outsiders owing to the beliefs that the horse is a perfect being. As well as the fact that when a Goro comes of age, they are wed to a house of the opposite. Never mind, let's move to the next subject. During development, Haukketa was meant to be bright green instead of red, including his eyes, and Naoki Yoshida outright rejected that. He went through multiple reworks before eventually leading towards red color. There is an FF14 live action called Dead of Light. It's based off of a true story that Meiji shared on his blogs, where he wanted to grow closer with his 60-year-old father. Sadly, the actor of the father and the person behind the story both passed away. It feels even more heartbreaking to know that Meiji made a stream to announce that he didn't have much longer to live. In Coluja, there is a small town called Comra. It's inhabited by dwarves and they have a house where life helpers can go in, but no other races can. Bill Murray is a guy that wanted to show how he is special. His thing is that he wanted to climb the ladder of top achievement points, and thus he would resort to doing things such as paying ultimate clears, speed hacking in rival wings. The problem is he was a leader of the American achievement hunting Discord community, so he got called out to a point where he deleted the entire Discord server. During the American Fan Fest of 2023, which, by the way, I don't get why would they pick such a hot place like Las Vegas during summer. So if any of you went there and survived, I am proud of you. But people had a blast till they got home, and a few days later, several people caught COVID. Around the same time, a furry artist made a comic about how excited they got to go to the Fan Fest, but suddenly he started feeling some COVID symptoms for a very short bit. Still went through, and a day later realized that he had it. I get it though, like, you wait potentially 5 years to finally go to the Fan Fest, and then you catch the Coco, and it sucks. But endangering people is not very smart. There's a lot of NSFW dialogue in the game, especially in A Realm Reborn. Here's some of them.
My powers of deduction tell me you are quite adept with that rod of yours. Could I convince you to pull it out, and take it in hand once more to service the sons of St. Koinek? You have tasted my spear, but are you ready for my butt?
There's a Chinese MMORPG named Dula Continent, which happened to have copied frame by frame the Shadowbringers trailer. We are now in the abyss of the iceberg. We don't have all that much left. If you stayed until the end, I am very grateful. Brandy Caldwell is a quote-unquote gaming journalist. From what I understood, he went to a fan fest, harassed a bunch of cosplayers, and asked Yoshi P inappropriate questions about ERP in-game. He also wrote an article about the FF14 player base being a weirdo cat girl cult or something along those lines, and it was rumored that they discontinued the developers Q&A at FanFest because of this guy. I won't go on too long about this because I covered it in my last video, which you can watch after that one, but in 1.0 there was a system called the Path Companions. It was an NPC you pick among a list of game races and genders, and you could give them a name. They will appear frequently in main story quests, kind of like a duo to you, just like how Edda and Papalimo are, and would do very horny comments. There used to be a housing trick called Bimbo Storage, which was putting some items down with a chocobo saddle bag open, and when you teleport in cities it would stay there. Players wouldn't see it aside you, but it could lead to climbing to places you normally can't, and some people used it to decorate the world around. At the end of the Iron Reborn's Alliance raid, Nero makes a monologue, before deciding to give up his radio-looking thing and throw it away. But the second he does so and walk away, what sounds like a Morse code can be heard from it. People translated it, and it says, "It is all wrong." And there's a character that also says the same thing. And it's in the sky, it's Meteon.
Why do we...
Although it is clear that things were not planned this far ahead, and Yoshi P said it was originally meant to be used for Eureka, and ended up being the device that teleports us to the first, it is interesting to think that according to some people, he was right about to hear this and potentially learn about Dynamis, and even causing the final days way earlier. Or it's just people's theory, but I like it. Zodiac Trancers is a very small community within FF14, which believes that Hydaelyn is a monster, the Ascians did nothing wrong, to a point where, from what I understood, they get very hostile toward people because the main story quest didn't follow the headcanon. The Earth is canon. It's confusing said like that, but you know the Shadowbringers raid with Nier? It is canon to the lore. And since Nier actually does have a post-apocalyptic Earth as a location, it means our world is canon to the lore of FF14. And the funny thing is, in that raid, the last boss has an AoE of a building that tries to crash into the players. It happens to be Square Enix's building according to the devs. You are Azem in two ways. The first one is the player character is the reincarnation of Azem. It wasn't clear in Shadowbringers as much as it is in Endwalker because everybody say you remind them of Azem in Elpis, but also because in one of the Shadowbringers cutscenes on the cave's walls in Rectica Greatwood, you see some paintings which tell the story, including Azem's. And what people found out is the dialogue adjusts to the player's gender, which explains the whole reason why you're so strong compared to most people in the story, it explains why Hydaelyn takes an interest in you, it explains why Elizabeth takes an interest in you, and you're basically an Ascian, kind of. But also, from what I heard, apparently we, as a player, in real life are supposed to be Azem as well. Alright, that's it. You survived through the entirety of the Iceberg of FF14. I hope it was interesting for you, and if you stayed until the end, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Before you leave, I would appreciate if you could stick for those last few words. First thing, thank you so much AnarchisedLute for your help. Without you, this video wouldn't have been possible. And secondly, I don't know what to do with this channel anymore. I feel like it's trapped into being an FF14 channel, so I think this is it for me. I might not be active on this account anymore, but you can still find me on my other channel, which will be in the outro and in the description, and there will likely be almost no videos anymore on this channel. My new channel will have some FF14 here and there, but not only. So if you decide you don't want to subscribe, I don't blame you. And thank you for being around on this channel for so long. I hope you all have a great day. It was Plushie. See you, bye.